Hello and welcome to Manga 96, and today we have the review of One Piece chapter 1011 titled Anko Standards. Big Mom proves once again that she is the biggest wild card in this arc with the actions she takes. Regarding what she did in this chapter, some of the readers might not be happy with this development, but I am quite happy with it, as it follows along with Big Mom's personality, and that despite her warped personality, she is still the innocent 5-year-old Lin at the core of her heart. Despite this, if you are thinking that now it's said that also Big Mom is against Kaido and is on the Straw Hat's side, I wouldn't bet on it, as she is too unpredictable, so I view her as the third power in this war, who will hurt both Kaido and his allies, as well as the Straw Hats and their allies, depending on the situation she finds herself in. And where that will lead us in the conclusion of this arc is yet to be seen, as Big Mom is too unpredictable to set her in any scenario at this point. Now let's save all that for later and start at the beginning of this week's chapter. On the cover of this double issue of Shonen Jump, Luffy is leading the cover with the other main characters of the currently serialized series in the magazine. The theme of the cover are fairy tales, so you see all the characters dressed as some characters of various fairy tales. Luffy is dressed as Aladdin, with a brook in the lamp instead of a genie. As well, One Piece had the lead color spread this issue. The cover is nice but nothing special, with the Straw Hats enjoying some ice cream. The only notable thing in this cover is the giant Nami, but sadly for all the Nami stands, she is just so big, so she's covered by the other Straw Hats. Anyway, going into the contents of this week's chapter, we immediately see the result of what Kid saw last chapter, with the clouds behaving strangely. And as everyone expected, Big Mom did create a new homie with her soul, called Hera, which is quite fitting with Hera being Zeus's wife in the Greek myths. Big Mom also doesn't waste any time before showing what Hera is capable of, with launching a lightning attack from a pretty big distance that penetrates the skull of Onigashima and creates a giant hole in it. I think that it's pretty safe to say that this attack did more damage to the skull than any other that we've seen so far, just proving how devastatingly powerful Big Mom is. After the attack, Kid Box crumbles and lets free Zeus. After noticing this, Law immediately teleports himself, Zoro and Zeus down below as to try and to prevent Zeus going back to Big Mom. This however doesn't look that it worked, judging from the final of this chapter. Law also teleports to give Luffy the chance to have his one-on-one with Kaido without worries. After Law and the other two finally leave, Kaido gets up with a smile on his face. Luffy is also smiling. Before they continue their fighting, we see a couple of clashes between those two, where they clearly using Supreme King Saki in their attacks, as they aren't touching each other. With the last clash they have that we see in this chapter is reminiscence with the clash that Roger and Whitebeard had, as after the clash we get a panned out look on Onigashima and we see the impact of the clash, and we see how the clouds got blown away by this clash. But it has to be noted that as similar as it may look like, it's still not on the level on what we saw with Roger and Whitebeard. But at this rate, for the finale of this fight, we will probably get those skill clashes between Luffy and Kaido. Moving on, we go to Kid and Killer's location, as they have fallen somewhere in between the third and second floor after Big Mom's attack. Those two immediately get up and go on their way to intercept Big Mom before she can regroup with Kaido. But they are intercepted by none other than the magician himself, Basil Hawkins. I must say that caught me by surprise, as I thought that Hawkins would eventually change sides and help the other supernovas against Kaido, but apparently not. It seems that his cards still favor the chances that Kaido's side has in this war, and so he's still on the side of the Beast Pirates, trying to intercept both Kid and Killer. I'm not sure how I would feel if later down the road Hawkins did indeed decide to change sides after this chapter. It would be logical, as he is solely guided by his cards reading, so if they said that it's the perfect time to betray Kaido, he will do it in a heartbeat, but still, no matter how logical that might seem, it will still be hard to swallow, as with everything that has happened so far isn't enough reason for Hawkins to change sides, then I don't know what has to happen that he does. And to that effect, Killer had a great line in which he taunts Hawkins' inability to make decisions for himself without the help of his cards. Anyway, Killer says to Kid that he should leave Hawkins to him and go deal with Big Mom. And Kid does leave and goes after Big Mom alone, which shows how much Kid actually trusts Killer that he could take another member of the worst generation one-on-one. And it mirrors Luffy and Zoro's dynamic, as Luffy would have done the same thing and entrusted that fight to Zoro without a second thought. As for the Killer vs Hawking fight, I really didn't see this matchup coming at all. Hawkins' powers are still a mystery for the most part, and Killer had some impressive feats on the roof, so it should be an interesting fight, but at this point I don't believe that this matchup is set in stone as the final fight for those two characters in this arc, especially with the end of this chapter, which just shows on how unpredictable everything is, and I wouldn't be in the least surprised that the fights that we fought were set in stone, like Frankie and Sasaki, Jinbe and Husho, or Robin and Black Maria are broken up and some new unexpected pairings show up in the near future. Then we move to the second floor, where we see the situation in which Usopp, Nami and Tama are, caught up right now with Page 1 clinging to Komachio's tail, with Usopp and Nami trying desperately to shake him off. Tama is shown that she is exhausted from the sheer numbers of Kibidangos that she had to produce already to make the gifters change side. Tama still plans to produce more Kibidangos, as there are still a lot of gifters left on the live floor who haven't eaten it yet, without worrying for her own well-being, as the only thing that is important to her is to turn every gifter on Onigashima into an ally, no matter what may happen to her as a consequence of overusing her devil fruit. Usopp and Nami both reassure her that they will protect her no matter what, and Usopp starts by getting rid of Page 1 on who is still clinging to Komachio's tail. Usopp uses some new attacks. First he uses an attack called Flower Fireworks to get Page 1 to let go of the tail and fall off, and then he uses some pine cones which are explosive. The explosion is pretty big, but it's not strong enough to keep Page down for good, as he gets immediately back up. Usopp has two interesting remarks to this, first being the durability that a dinosaur type zone provides to the user. This was previously stated, but it's further highlighted in this chapter on just how much durability someone gets just for eating a dinosaur type zone Del fruit. The second remark, and the more important one, is the confirmation that indeed Tama's Dango are only effective against Smile users, as they have no effect against regular zone users. This was expected, as otherwise it would have made Tama's fruit too overpowered, but it's still nice to have this confirmation that indeed it's impossible for Tama to control a normal zone user, expect maybe Chopper, as he is a reindeer. Moving on, then we go to the last part of this chapter, and the most important one, and that is the meeting between Big Mom and Tama. While Usopp, Nami and Tama are running away from Page 1, they run into Big Mom, who is searching for Kid. At first, Big Mom notices both Usopp and Nami, which doesn't look good for those two, but immediately Tama calls out to Big Mom, on which Big Mom literally goes into Mama mode. Prometheus has a thought on this, that Big Mom tends to go into this Mama mode whenever she's around children that are under 10 years old. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, as Big Mom has 85 fucking children, so that she has affection for small children shouldn't be a surprise. In the conversation, it also shown that Big Mom remembers everything that happened when she was all in and had amnesia, which plays a big part in what is to come, as Big Mom is reminiscing on how the people of Okobore town were nice to her and how Otsuru gave her Oshiruko. Tama informs her that Okobore town was burned down to the ground by Holden and his men. After the people of Okobore town refused to say anything regarding the raid. After hearing this, Big Mom gets pissed, as she is a person who has no problems with burning down an entire island full of strangers to further her goals. But if you harm even a tiny village with people that she was personally on good terms, then you can prepare that she will chase whoever is responsible to the ends of hell. This situation further shows that no matter how much Strawson has corrupted the gullible Linlin in the last 6 decades, at the core of her Linlin is still the innocent child that she was at the beginning of her flashback. This proves that if on that fateful day 62 years ago someone other than Strawson had found Linlin and was a good person as opposed to Strawson, the Big Mom that we now know probably never would have existed. For the last scene of the chapter, we see how Page 1 has caught up to the group on Komachio. After seeing Big Mom, he asks her for her cooperation in stopping Usopp, Nami and Tama, but Big Mom, after seeing Page 1, comments on how the pirate world is a cruel one, but even in this cruel world exists some standards before punching Page 1. In the punch, it's shown that Big Mom also used Supreme King Saki in her attack. No, Page 1 won't get up that quickly from this punch, but after some time he probably will be back on his feet, so I don't expect that Page 1 is out of this war just yet. The aftermath of this attack alerts Kid, who now knows where Big Mom is and is on its way there. That same applies to Zeus, who is also on his way. And lastly, we see Ulti, who saw her beloved Pepe ate Big Mom's punch, and knowing Ulti's personality, it should be fun next chapter. With a shocked Ulti, we end this chapter, and with both Kid and Zeus on their way to the same location, the next chapter promises to be pure chaos. As I mentioned in the beginning of this review, this development doesn't mean that now Big Mom is on the Straw Hat's side, but rather that she now has become the third great power in this war, and what she does from now on will be interesting to see. It has to be said that Zeus is on his way, so after he sees Nami, this will immediately complicate things, unless Big Mom discards him considering she has Hera now, but who knows at this point with Big Mom. Kid is trying to fight Big Mom one-on-one. Will that happen after this chapter? It should be noted that Luffy is dealing with Kaido one-on-one. Kid should be able to hold his own against a Yonko if he wants to be considered Luffy's rival. Then we have Ulti, who is bound to try something to avenge her beloved Pepe. All in all, this was a great chapter of One Piece, with an unexpected Killer and Hawkins fight coming up, and with the chaos that will happen around Big Mom in the next chapter. Hopefully Oda doesn't move from this next chapter, but for that we'll have to wait, as the magazine itself will be on break next week. And that will be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content as well as other manga content, and until next time, take care.